The slide is visible. Slide is visible, Harshvardhan?
Yes, sir.
So, before starting these things, I think you know quiz will be on 3rd. That will be at 6 p.m. No, it is 6 p.m. Let me check it. It is 6 p.m. and another last quiz will be on 11 a.m. Okay. Okay. Maybe some problem would be there for me. So I need to take some extra class. One more class would be there in this week on Wednesday. Next Thursday is already on Friday. So again Friday, Saturday. So Friday, Saturday. Which day will be comfortable for you? Harshvardhan? One extra class to take it. Friday or Friday or Saturday. Which day will be comfortable for you?
Sir, Friday, sir.
Friday what time?
Sir, Friday 11 o'clock.
Friday 11 o'clock. Classing is here. My class is here. 11 to 12. One class is here.
Sir, at Friday, what time are you free, sir?
Friday second half. Any times?
Second half is busy, sir. Actually, we have Viva and lab also.
It's a Viva and lab. Okay. Then probably.
Sir, Friday 10 o'clock. Are you free, sir?
Okay, Friday 10 o'clock. I'll take it.
Yes.
Friday. Okay. Friday 10 o'clock.
Sir, once I'll confirm you at the end of the class, sir. I'll see if there is no other event. I'll confirm you at the end of the class.
Okay. Otherwise, you can keep it on Saturday also. Comfortably, you can keep it.
Saturday we have a lab actually.
Saturday you will have. Okay. 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 Then you just tell me Friday 10. You confirm me at the end of this class. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Friday means it will be on 5th, na? 5th November. It will be on 5th.
On Saturday, when are you free, sir? I'll discuss in class and
Saturday first half free total first half.
Yes, sir. I'll discuss in class and say.
Saturday first half 10 to 1 p.m. any times, right? You can consider 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock. Options will be there in Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at the end of this class, you tell me. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You see, last time we discussed the congestion controls. We have seen this congestion control. Why congestion control appears? That is because. Okay. I have not connected the tab. Just wait. Again. Just a minute. Again, share it. Nick, tell me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So last time we have seen these two types of congestion controls. In fact, congestion control, I told you that is because when the network capacity, just a minute. Okay. When the number of packets sent to the network, that means load, when the load is greater than the capacity of the network, number of packets that the network can handle. So that times congestion develops, and it requires to control the congestions. And there are different techniques are there that we have seen it. The congestion control, the aim is to keep the load below the capacity. So we have seen there are two types of condition controls. Two categories are there. You can say. In this context, I have discussed the practical scenario and the ideal case. We have seen this practical case buffers, finite buffer size is here. So there will be different, there will be severe, if there is severe conditions, then you see throughput will be 0. Right. Anyway, to control these congestions, you can have different policies. We are divided into two groups. One is open loop congestion controls, and this closed loop congestion controls. In open loop congestion controls, there is the policy retransmission policy. In this case, sender feels that send packet is lost or corrupted. Sender feels based on this packets will be retransmitted. It may increase congestions, but a good retransmission policy can be taken to prevent the congestions. That is retransmission policy. Window policy, we have seen this selective reject and go back in ARQ. Those things we have seen it. So a selective repeat window will be better than go back in window for congestion controls in window policy. Acknowledgement policy, in this case, if the receiver does not acknowledge the packet that it receives, then it may slow down the sender. Sender will transmit the packet once the acknowledgement is received. So if there is no acknowledgement, that means there will be no transmission of the packet. So in this way, it will help prevent congestions. Next, discarding policy. A good discarding policy. This policy can be taken by the routers to prevent congestions. Admission policy. This is useful for virtual circuit connections. In this case, you see the switches check. Switches will be there in the network. Switches check the resource requirement of a flow before admitting it to the network. Right, and the router, a particular router can deny the virtual circuit connections if there is congestions in the network. So that is the admission policy. It can also prevent the congestions, particularly in virtual circuit networks. The admission policy, it is particularly useful in virtual circuit networks. Right. So these are the open loop congestion controls. Open loop congestion control, the thing is, the policies are taken before it happens, and closed loop congestion control techniques, the techniques are policies are taken after the congestion happens. Right. There are different cases are there. Back pressure. In this case, you see, if a particular node is congested, like say, I'm just showing it. Say there several nodes are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, like these things. They're connected, and so this is the sender, this is the destinations. Sender, and this is the destinations. Right. These ones. This is node 1. This is node 2. This is node 3. This is node 4. Suppose this node 3 is congested. Congestion develops. Congestion develops in node 3. Then it will send. See that times. You see. Then it can drop whenever you see whenever congestion develops in node 3, then it will inform to the previous node. You see here it will drop some packets in its buffer, input buffer, this congestion node, and it will inform the node 2 to slow down. Right. So whenever congestion develops in node 3, it will drop some packets in its input buffer and informs the node 2 to slow downs. Right. then node 2 in turn, it can be congested because it has already reduced the data transmissions. So it may be congested. So in the same thing will happen if the node 2 is congested, then it informs the node 1 to slow downs, right? Node 1 informs the source in turns. In the same way, node 1 will inform the source, this is a source, to slow downs. So in this way, you see this is a, you can say this is a back pressure in the opposite directions. This is from the source to the nodes and from the node to the source. So back pressure. That's why it is called the back pressure. In this way, it can alleviate the congestions. But you can keep in mind it's a back pressure of limited uses. Only certain networks it is used, like say X25 based networks, packet switching networks. The different types of networks are there. So X25 based networks, switching networks, it is used, but it cannot be implemented in datagrams. Cannot be implemented in datagrams and this back pressure. That is because you see in datagrams there is no idea of the upstream directions, upstreams. Here you see here back pressure is possible whenever upstream direction is known. So, but in datagrams you have seen this arbitrarily the packets can go any directions and any route. So there is no specific upstream and direction is not there. So in that case, it cannot be used in datagrams networks. Only certain networks where there is can have a knowledge of upstream route. That in that case, only this back pressure policy can be used. So that is back pressures. And the choke packet, you see in this case, another method is there to control congestions. In this case, you see a completely separate packet is used to inform the source about the congestions. Right. You see in this case, you see completely separate packet is used. Say node 3. This is the choke packet from the node 3 that will be sent to the source, This is a choke packet. So a completely separate packet is used to inform the source about its congestions. So it can be from the router, which is facing the congestions, to the source station directly, right? It will inform the source station directly about its congestions. The intermediate nodes in this case, you see, are not warned. That is the case of this policy. There is a policy. And one typical example is you will see it IP protocols. So we'll see, I'll give the touch of what is IP protocols. In IP protocols that is used in internet, whenever IP datagrams are transmitted, that times a particular router, if it is overburdened with this with IP datagrams, IP packets, then it may discard some of them, but it informs the source host by using a message that is called ICMP message and source quench. And there are different messages are there. One is called source quench ICMP message. There are different messages are there. ICMP protocols. This type of the choke packet is used in ICMP protocols in IP layers, right? That is used in internet services. Right. So when a particular router is overburdened or the burdened with this IP diagrams, then it may discard some of them, but it informs about its congestions to the source host using this message ICMP, a complete separate packet is used for this purpose. That is source quench ICMP message. This message goes directly to the source stations about these conditions. So this is the choke packet, right? Well, these are not so sophisticated methods. These are the crude techniques. These backpressure choke packets, but the sophisticated techniques are these two: implicit signaling and explicit. These two are the sophisticated techniques for congestion controls under closed loop category. In implicit signalings, in this case, you see, there'll be no communication between the congested nodes, right? And congestion node and the source. There'll be no communication. Here, see, communication is here from congestion node to the source. But in implicit signalings, there'll be no communications between the congested node and the source. Only the source will guess that there is a congestion somewhere in the network from some symptoms. What are the symptoms? Symptoms may be it is like these things. There will be no, if there is no acknowledgement for certain times, then it will assume that the network is congested, or there can be delay in receiving the acknowledgement. That can be interpreted as the congestion in the network. So in this way, source can slow down the transmissions. Right. So in this way, it can alleviate the congestions. That is the implicit signaling. So there is no communications between the congested node and the source. Only source guesses that there is a congestions. Right. So that is implicit signalings. Another one is explicit signalings. In this case, the congested node will send a signal to the source or to the destination. It can be forward signaling, it can be backward signaling. In this case, it will send, but you see, it is not like that choke packet where separate packet is used. In explicit signalings, you see, in this case, a particular signal is sent to the source that is included in the packets that carry the data. So the same packet is used that carry the data. That can be in the forward directions, that can be the backward directions. So in case of backward signaling, say you can say backward explicit signalings. In that case, backward explicit signaling. In this case, a bit is set in the packet that moves in the opposite directions to the congested node. Right, a bit is set to the packet that moves in the opposite directions. I mean towards the source. So this bit warns the source that there is congestions. Then it needs to a source needs to slow down to avoid the discarding of packets. So that is the backward signalings. Or it can be also forward signaling also, forward explicit signalings, forward explicit signalings. In that case, you see the bit is set in a packet that moves in the directions of the destination or in the direction of congestions. So this bit can warn the destination. This time in the forward directions toward the destinations. So this bit opposite to the source. So this bit warns the destination that there is congestions. Then receiver can take the policies like slowing down the acknowledgement to overcome the congestions. So that is the forward explicit signalings. So in this way, the congestion can be overcome. Right. So that is the policies for explicit forward signalings. So explicit signalings can be it can be implicit signalings or can be explicit signalings. But keep in mind, it is not like the choke packet. Choke packet, there is completely separate packet is used, right? And back pressure, it is something different. Here, here you see in case of explicit backward signalings, in this case, a bit is included in the packet. That is not there in case of the other cases. So these are the different congestion control techniques So overall, it can be open loop control techniques, or it can be closed loop congestion control techniques. So in the first case, the policies are taken before it happens. In the closed loop case, the techniques are applied after the congestion happens. Right. So this is the congestions. If you have any questions, quickly you can ask. Any questions regarding these congestions? Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Then you see one more is left in this model, that is the routings, right? Routing in circuit switching networks and packet switching networks. Routings here, in fact, routing in circuit switching networks very simple. If you consider, okay, let us routing in circuit switch networks and in packet switching networks. Routing cycles in these circuit switching networks is simple. In this case, two things are considered: the efficiency and the resilience. Efficiency means it is to minimize the amount of equipment in the network subject to the ability to handle the expected loads, right? This is one requirement for this routing strategy in circuit switch network. This is one efficiency. I mean, that will be minimizations of equipment. I mean, it is desired to minimize the equipments like switches, trunks, etc. in the network. And another one is the resilience. That means how the network is recovers from the failure. I mean, it's a setback. If some failure is here, if some trunks, there can be trunks failure, there can be node failure, etc. How the network can this resumes, and the traffic can resumes. That is called the resilience. So these two things, if some failures are there, so the two things are there: the efficiency and the resilience. And the routing strategy based on these things. In fact, there are two approaches are there in the circuit switch network. One is the static approach, that is fixed static approach. One is that is not considered the traffic conditions, static approach. And there is the dynamic approach. Dynamic approach. In the first case, traffic conditions are not considered, right? But in this case, in the second case, the dynamic routing approach, here it is influenced by the current traffic conditions. So it considers the traffic conditions. One example is this dynamic approach, the alternate routings. Alternate routings. In this case, if there are several routes are there, then you see, depending on the traffic conditions, it will consider the route. If several routes are there, then you see it will consider the route that cost less. Right? Fixed cost route will be considered. Of course, it will consider the traffic condition also, where based on the traffic conditions, here the route will be considered. So alternate routing approach in circuit switching. Circuit switching is not typical because the route is dedicated to source to destinations. So it is not very complex. But the important things, important routing strategies are there. I mean, the most important you see, I mean, important strategies are taken in case of the packet switch networks, routing strategies. So let us focus on the routing strategies in packet switch networks. Okay, here you see what are the different strategies. Number one, it is the fixed routings. Fixed routings. Here. Okay. Fixed routings. Second one is the flooding. Third one is the random routings. And fourth one is adaptive routings. So there are the four strategies are there for packet switch networks, right? These are applied to internet routing also, right? And it's a first case in the fixed routings. In this case, a single permanent route is first established for each source to destination pair in the networks. Here, in this case, the routes are fixed, or at least, I mean, routes are fixed in the sense that if even there is a change in the traffic conditions, but still the routes will be same. But only the case when the route can be changed if the topology of the network changes. Otherwise, the routes are fixed. That's why it is called fixed routings. Here the link costs cannot be based on any dynamic variable like these things, like traffics, right? And this can be only based on the expected traffic. Only expected traffic or expected capacity, right? So anyway, the fixed routing, the routes are fixed, and here there will be no change even. I mean, it will not consider the flexibility of the traffic conditions. So that means it does not react to network congestions or failures, the fixed routings. So in case of fixed routings, there will be a centralized routing matrix is created. Central routing matrix is created, and that will be stored in the control center of the network. Central routing matrix. That matrix actually indicates the from each source to destination and the identity of the next node. Take these examples, say fixed routings. Let us say these ones. Okay, the central routing matrix of directory. That is, this is from the source to node. This is to node, and this is from particular source node. From node. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here also it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. So 1 to 1 it is nil. Next it is 2. Next it is 4. Next it is 4. It is 4. Let us say it is 4. Next one it is 1. Next 2 to 2 it is nils. So 3. Next 4, 4, 4. Next 3 it is 5, 5. 5, 5. 3 to 3. Yes. Next all 5. Next one it is 2, 2, 5. Next it is dash. 4 to 4 it is dash. Next 4 to 5 it is 5, 5. 5, 5. And next it is 5. It is 4, 4, 3, 4. 3, 4 dash. Next 6. 6 it is 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 dash. And this is the central routing matrix, and this is the node 1's directory. So this is the node 1 directory, and this is destinations. This is the next node. So node 1 to destination 2. The next node it is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to 4 it is 4. 1 to 5 it is 4. 1 to 6, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is not required. 6 it is 4. So this node 1 directory, it can be derived from this one. You can see it here. So from node to node, from node 1. Say source. There is source node, the destinations, source destination pairs. These are the routing matrix, right? And that is stored in a control center of the network, right? So node 1 to 2, you see node from source node 1 to 2, the next node it is 2. Similarly, if it is say 4 to say 5, if it is 4 to 5, next node it is 5. So in this way it is stored. Now we have to decide say particular node 1 to node 6, what will be the path for it from this root matrix, right? And here this one, see, if you consider the node 1 directory, you see it here. Node 1 directory is from node 1 to 2. It is this the destination node, and this is the next node. So 1 to 2, 1 to 2 it is 2, is 2 here, you see it. 1 to 3 it is 4, is 4 here. 1 to 4 like this is 1 to 4, 1 to 6, these things. So say node for a particular node, it does not require the complete matrix. It only needs its own directory, next node, right? So from this, now we have to decide, say, what is the path for one node 1 to 6. Let us see. Then you see 1 to 6. So first of all, you have to see the matrix, the node 1 to 6. It will count from this 1 to 6. 1 to 6 is the next node. It is 4. So next node it is 4. Next, you see, you have to consider 4 to 6. 1 to 6, next node is 4. So 4 to next 4 to 6. What is the next node? 4 to 6, you see 4 to 6 and 4 to 6, next node it is 5. It is 5. So next node it is 5. And 5 to 6, the next node is direct connection is here. 5 to 6 is 6. Right, next node it is 6. So the route to 1 to 6, it will be 1, 4, 5, 6. So this is the complete route from node 1 to node 6. So that is the theme for this, the central and the fixed routings. So in this case, you see, there will be no difference between the diagrams and virtual circuits, right? And see, all the packets from a particular source to a particular destination follow the same route. That is the condition for this fixed routing. The advantage is this simplicity, and you see, it will work well for a reliable networks with stable load, but it does not consider the flexibility. If the traffic changes or congestion happens, then it will not be of it cannot be used in those cases. If there is a congestions or failures like these things, or if there is a traffic variations, then this cannot be used, the fixed routings. So these are the drawbacks and the advantages. But advantage is very simple. Next, you see the floodings. In this case, you see here the technique is packet is sent. This flooding is packet is sent by a node, by a source node to every one of its neighbors. What are the neighbors? Say source node, say every 1. The neighboring nodes is 2, 3, and 4. These are the neighbor nodes. You see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 4. These are not 5, 6 are not the neighbor nodes. So in this case, first packet is sent to the neighbor nodes, and next each node, then neighbor node, they will copy it and they will retransmit the packets to all other nodes except the path from which it is coming. Right. So in this case, you see it here. In this case, after receiving the first packet, you see the node 2 will retransmit the packets, will make a copy and retransmit the packets to 3 and to 4, not to the one direction. The packet has come from this node, so it will not consider this path, but other routes it will send the packets, right? So node 4, similarly, node 4 will send the packet in this way, 2, 2, 3, 5. It will 2, 3, 5. It will send, and ultimately the packet will reach to the node 6. Now in this case, you see there can be several copies of the packet, will be 6, but the packet will be identified. It will have some sequence number, or sequence number of virtual circuit, or sequence number of virtual circuit number, etc. Some identifier would be there, so that node 6 will know the first copy, and the remaining copies will be discarded, right? The node 6. Now, but in this case, the number of packets you see will be huge, because each packet is copy the incoming packet. Next, it will copy it and retransmit to all other neighboring nodes. So huge traffic will be created. So to avoid this duplicate copy, in this case, what happens? Hop count can be used. Hop count field. In the hop count, you see hop count. Hop count concept can be used. In this case, say number of hops can be initially fixed, right? The field, and that will depend upon the diameter of the network. Each time a node passes on a packet, that will decrease the count by 1. When the count reaches 0, the packet will be discarded. So in this case, in this case, first half, this is we consider first half. In the second half, you see second half here, how many packets are created? This is 4, 2, 6, and 9 packets are created. And in the third half, you see 22 packets are created in this case, right? Third half, right? So you see, but in the second half, after the second half, the packet will reach to the node 6, which is the packet. When the packet will reach to the 6, then it will recognize the destinations, and that will not be retransmitted. It will not be retransmitted. So other nodes, but other nodes will generate total 22 copies of the packets, right? For the final or the final hops, for the final final. So all packets will be, these remaining packets will be discarded, right? So node 6 will receive 4 additional. If you see the node 6 will receive 4 additional copies of the packets of the packet. So this is the floodings. So to avoid this, the duplicacy, hop count field can be adapted. So in this case, the advantage is all possible routes between the source and destinations will be tried. So the packet will always get through. I mean, packet will reach to the destinations. And since all the packets are tried, so at least there can be one copy of the packet will have a minimum hop route. Minimum hop route will be there, right? The third one is these 3 conditions we can have it in this case. Another 3 advantages. All the nodes that directly or indirectly, all the nodes will be visited. In this case, that are connected to the network, that will be visited. All the nodes will be visited in floodings. And you see, because of these things, it is highly robust. Could be used, and this flooding can be used for emergency messages because all the routes will be tried. So the packet somehow will reach to the destinations for through any other routes. That may not be the least cost work, but it will reach to the destinations. And also, you see, it will be here. It will be useful for the virtual circuit case, because virtual circuit. Because all the routes will be tried, so there can be at least one copy will be there, for which there will be a minimum hop route. So that will be useful for deciding this virtual circuit establishment. Third one that I mentioned, all the nodes are visited. That can be useful for the broadcasting of, if a particular node wants to broadcast informations, then that will be useful, because all the nodes will be visited. But the drawback of this flooding is this: the traffic load. Huge traffic load will be created because of this duplication, right? Next one, you see the random routings. So these things already I mentioned. The random routings, you see, it is the same thing as this flooding, but here only one route will be decided, and that will be at randoms, right? And also that it will exclude the link for which the packet, through which packet has arrived. So if all the links are equally chosen, then you see, then it will choose the link in a round robin fashions. Of course, some probability concept can be used, considering the data rate, etc. Based on these things, a particular path can be chosen, right, based on the probability. So this is the probability I mentioned here. This is the probability, and you see the advantage is this here. Load will be reduced because you see only one path is selected, right? And also it does not require any network information. But same thing is there also for flooding. There will be no need of network information that I have seen in the fixed routings. And but the thing is this, disadvantage is this: since the path is chosen random, so it may not be the least cost route or the minimum hop route. So that problem would be there, right? So that is the characteristics of the random routings. And in case of adaptive routings, you see some sort of adaptive routing is depending upon the failure and congestions. The conditions that influence the routing is, one is the failure, and that is the congestions, right? You see, when a node fails or trunk fails, it can no longer be the part of the route. Congestion is this when that we have seen it when a particular network is heavily congested, it is desired that to route the packets to some other regions where congestion is less. So considering these things, adaptive routing is considered, but adaptive routings, you see some drawbacks are there also compared to the fixed routings. it is more complex. You see it, it is more complex. That's what it means. It is more complex, yeah, and it depends on the status information. Means strategies will depend on informations that is collected in one place but can be implemented in another place. So that depends on the status informations, and sometimes the adaptive routing reacts too quickly, so that some oscillation might occur. Right. That is it can cause oscillations. Right. So that is, these are the drawbacks. But overall, the adaptive routing, it improves the performance, as well as also it is very useful for congestion controls. And there are also here you can see it, the strategies adaptive routing based on this local. It can be based on the local nodes, informations from the local nodes, or can be adjacent nodes, adjacent nodes, or can be all nodes and all nodes. So three strategies are there. First one, it is not generally used. Other two, these two adjacent nodes and local nodes, these two are widely used. And in this case, distributed or centralized strategies are used. In distributed case, each node exchanges the information with other nodes. In centralized case, each node reports its link status to a central node. So these are the strategies for the strategies. Just I'm taking 2-3 minutes more so that you can complete it and you'll be able to answer the quiz. So this is the adaptive routings. One more thing is this ARPANET. Actually, all the routing strategies actually generated by the ARPANET. ARPANET is actually the Advanced Research Projects Agency in US. All the route there will be actually 3 generations are there: first generation routing, second generation routing, third generation routing. In first generation routing, it is based on these Bellman follower that we have discussed. Second generation, but it has some drawbacks. That drawbacks, I mean, drawbacks is avoided in case of the second generations. Right. Second generations, because first generation, the thing is, it doesn't consider the queue length or the line speed. Those things are considered in the second generation. But second generations, its drawback is it cannot work in the heavy load conditions. Under heavy load, third generation routing is there. Anyway, you see the original ARPANET routing. In this case, you see some network is given here. This is the routing matrix or the delay vectors. This delay vectors very similar to that we have seen. The delay vectors very similar to the cost that we have seen it. We have seen this Bellman for digital algorithms, very similar to that. This is the node 1's routing tables after update, say initially. Say node 1 to 1, it is 0. Next node is there is nothing. Node 1 to 2, it is delay cost. Delay or cost you can consider. So if you see it is 2, 3, like these things. Any node, 1 to 6 node is given here. Anyway, for a particular node, it is given here. The matrix is given here. The delay vectors or the cost. You can sometimes delay vectors are also there, or it can some cost values are there, normalized values. So they are the node 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, like these things, and they are the next node. Just now I have seen it. And after sometimes after traffic conditions, say the neighboring nodes, they have changed their directory and they have updated their delay vectors, and D2, this is a D2 and D3, D4, they have sent this information to neighboring nodes. So after these things, then this table will be updated. This table will be updated to these ones. How you see it here? Suppose based on this 1 to 2, if 1 to 2 is considered, then you see it is 1 to 2, it is 2. 1 to 2, it is 2. See here 2. Or it can be say 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to 3 if you just consider here. Then no 1 to 2. It can be 1 to 2, or it can be 1 to 3 to 2, or 1 to 4 to 2. So 1 to 2 it is 2. Now 1 to 3 to 2. 1 to 3 it is given here. 1 to 3 delay vector is 5. So delay vector is 5. But 3 to 2, now 3, this node updated its cost. So 3 to 2 it is now 4. You see it. This is 3 to 1. 3 to 2, 3 to 3, 0. So 3 to 2 it is now 4. So it is 5 plus 4, it is 9. Similarly, 1 to 2 via 4, 1 to 2 via 4, 1 to 4 it is 1, 1 to 4 it is 1, you see 1, and 4 to 2, 4 to 2 it is 2. So 4 to 2 it is 2, so it is 1 plus 2 it is 3. So it is 293. So based on the minimum cost will be 1 to 2, 2. That's why it is given 1 to 2. Likewise, the same thing is repeated. That is the ARPANET routings. Anyway, these things, it is not difficult. You have seen the just I have shown you the fixed routing similar to these things. It is the first generation network, first generation the routing strategy, ARPANET routings. Anyway, complete this. Any questions regarding this ARPANET routing? Is there a question to pucho? I'll stop it because you may have next class. Any quiz? Any questions regarding this ARPANET routing? It's not difficult. You just see it, a routing matrix. You can have it. Stylings are given. These things are given in details, so you can have it. Afterward, then you tell me what times, either Friday or Saturday.
Friday 10 o'clock.
Friday 10 o'clock. Okay. So Friday, it is 5th November, no? Friday,
Yes.
5th November, 10 o'clock. Okay. Okay, then your quiz will be on. Okay, before quiz also, Wednesday class will be there, and it is at quiz will be at 6 p.m. Okay, just one second. Okay, then.